That's what's wrong with mankind. They've lost their emotions. They no longer feel. That's because love. They've either been starved of love, or it's the way the whole world has got you. If you've broke down, that is the beginning of healing. Listen, I'm going to tell you a story. A lovely story. There's a lot of illustrations or parables in this story. As I read this, try and picture yourself right there in Galilee. Okay? The setting is in Galilee, in the Middle East. The parable of the sower. Have you ever heard that? The sower. The sower, not the sower. Not sower. Not that. Sowing seeds. The parable of the sower. Okay? What is a parable? What is a parable? We'll get to that. Right, this is the setting. Listen. On that day, Jesus went out of the house. He was in this house, right? Wasn't by himself. And was sitting by the Sea of Galilee. Such large crowds gathered around him that he got into a boat and sat down. So here's the scene. Crowds of people. He's in this like cove. It's not like a cove. And he thinks, right, acoustics. If I get in the boat, it will penetrate around. The sound will be funneled in and everyone will hear. So he says, right, hey lads, the boat. Yeah. Well look, I'll sit in the boat, right, lads? Okay. And I'll just talk from there. Alright lads? Okay. Then he told many things in parables. Now look, I'll tell you what I'll do. In the Greek, let's go to the original Greek word for parable so that we understand before we start. Yeah? Okay, now we're ready. Ah. Right, this Greek word, this is the original. Parabole. Parabole. Parable. Parable. This is from the Strong's. Explains what it means, parable. It's, if you're interested, it's Strong's 3850. parabole. This is the definition. This is what it means. Parable, comparison. So it's a comparison to something. So whatever Yeshua is going to say, it's all parable. Do not take it literally. So it's a comparison, a parable, often of those uttered by our Lord. A proverb, adage. Word origin from the Greek verb parabol, parabolo, meaning to throw alongside or compare. Corresponding Greek, Hebrew. The Hebrew equivalent often associated with parable is mashal, Strong's Hebrew 4912, which also means proverb, parable, or allegory. An allegory. They are much the same, similar. In the New Testament, the usage of it, parabole, refers to a simple account used to illustrate a moral or a spiritual lesson, as told by Jesus, Yeshua, in the Gospel. In the Gospels, the 4 Gospels. Parables are distinctive teachings, methods employed by Jesus to convey profound truths in a reliable and memorable way. Oh yes, I remember what he said because of the illustration. Yes. They often involve everyday situations and characters, making them accessible to a wide audience, while also containing deep meanings for those willing to seek them. The culture and historical background. Excuse me. I need to do some bro. Shambles. In the Jewish tradition, parables were a common teaching tool used by rabbis to convey ethical and theological lessons. Jesus used parables, was both innovative, and rooted in the tradition, allowing him to communicate complex spiritual truths in a manner that was both energizing and thought-provoking. Parables often contain elements of surprise. It's true, isn't it? So, like a surprise. Reversals. Challenging listeners to think critically and reflect on their own lives and beliefs. So now we know what a parable is. We know what a parable is. I know what a parable is. Ask me what a parable is. A parable is an illustration Do you know what an illustration is? Do you know what an illustration is? That's right, it's a parable. Do you know what it's an allegory? You've all got it. What about you? You don't know. You still don't know. Well, compare this with this, right? And don't take little. Now, let's get on with it, because I haven't even started yet. You needed to know what a parable was. Now you know. Can you hear music? What is that? There's some music going on in the background. Can you hear it? Can you hear it? It's a frequency coming in. It's an illustration. I'll just give you an illustration if you get it. Do I have to explain all these illustrations? On the way. This guy was like, now listen. Then he told them many things in parables, saying, consider the sower, who went out to sow. As he was sowing, some seeds fell among the path. And the birds came and ate them up. Others fell on rocky ground. Now listen, I'm speaking like this slowly and deliberately and quietly. Remember to put yourself in that position. You're listening. Yeshua was not saying, consider the sower who went out to sow. He's saying, consider the sower who went out to sow. Yeah. Just so you can get the feel. Because I'm not doing it the way Yeshua was expressing it then. To be there was so much different. As he was sowing, some seeds fell on the path, and the birds came and ate them up. Others fell on rocky ground, where there wasn't much soil, and they sprang up quickly, since the soil wasn't deep. But when the sun came up, they were scorched. And since they had no root, they withered. Others fell among thorns. Thorns. Oof, oof. Can you imagine something growing in thorns? It's getting thorns in it all the time as it's growing. So, some fell among the thorns. Where are we? And the thorns came up and choked them. Stab you. Still others fell on good ground and produced a crop. Some 100, some 60, some 30 times what was sown. What are they thinking? Because he pauses, gives them time to think.